Welcome to The Rooted Warriors, the podcast where the bonds of sisterhood are not just celebrated, but explored through laughter, tears, and everything in between. Join me and my two dearest friends as we dive deep into the roots of our own friendships, sharing stories and challenges. Whether you're looking for inspiration, advice, or just a good story, we're here to bring a piece of our sisterhood right into your life.
Hey warriors, today we're stepping into a space many of us know too well, the raw and tender journey through grief. It's in these moments of deep loss that we often search for meaning, and sometimes we find a strength we didn't know we had. We have a wonderful guest joining us to talk about the power of perseverance in grief and how in heartache we can find hope and even joy.
On today's episode, we are honored to have with us Miss Staci Wynn.
Whoop, whoop.
Longtime Ripponite. Fun fact, 1995 Miss Almond Blossom.
What?
Here to talk with us today about grief in all areas of life. Hello, ladies.
Hello, hello. Well, hello, beautiful sister.
Happy hump day.
Whoa, whoa.
How has our week been?
Wednesday in the house.
It's been great. It's been busy. A lot going on.
Seriously, too.
You're always so busy.
Bitness.
You know, I feel like I had like it kind of mellow and then I jumped back in, which I'm happier in my busy. We already talked about this last week.
She does nothing half-ass.
Nothing. I'm full everything.
Yes.
If we don't know anything about
Diving
her by
deep.
now, we know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
She goes
Everything.
hard.
Pedal to the metal, baby. It's who could reach that button quickest.
It's
like a rush.
What about you, Andy?
Well, I just can't stop thinking about Morro Bay. I've got a couple days before we leave and beach bound. I barely healed or healing from the last trip I tried to take, but
She's going to wear hiking boots on the beach.
He wishes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss Gina?
My week is good. I'm on a countdown. 23 more days.
Yeah.
And I do believe that when I get home tonight, I might get out my luggage and just open it up. Open it up.
Why? Where are you going?
Viva la Mexico.
What? KK. Arriba.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
And what about our wonderful guest, Staci? How's your week been?
So far, so good. Just
I like
keeping busy, doing the mom thing, working.
Awesome.
We're doing good stuff.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Staci? How many children you have? Things like that.
What do you work to?
Yeah, tell us everything. Your social
We want to know
What's your blood
everything.
type?
Mother's maiden name.
What was your birth weight?
3 last addresses.
It's a big baby. So I am a mother, local, single mother of 2 wonderful children. They are a boy and a girl, 12 and 10, and they are both on the autism spectrum. So that keeps our life very interesting, very wonderful. Currently homeschooling one, and one is in school, a hybrid school. So we keep busy with that.
Cool.
On the side right now, I'm just working currently with advocacy and about to publish some books for parents. And we're just working through that right now.
So she's super busy. Let me
Super
help you guys
busy.
with that.
Yes.
Super busy.
Super busy, super involved with community stuff, an amazing mother on every level. As we all know, it's challenging to be a mother no matter what, but with a child with special needs, let alone 2 children with special needs, that is a lot.
Absolutely. And can I ask boy, girl, ages?
So girl 12, boy 10. Well, he'll be 10 on Sunday. He's
Yeah,
so
close
excited.
enough.
So we're in double digits. We made it.
Yeah.
When you say advocacy, what are you advocating?
So working right now, just the initial focus right now, I'm actually transitioning out of being a teacher, special education teacher. So going into advocacy will be helping parents with IEPs. So parent coaching, how to manage household, how to take children whose brains weren't built for this world and teach them how to cope and be successful. So essentially it's grabbing.
Awesome.
I seriously can't think of a
Anything
cooler thing
It's
for
fun.
you to be part
It's
of.
fun.
That's
How
really
did
neat.
you kind of start on this journey yourself? Like when you had your first child with special needs, what kind of
Right.
things were out there to help you at that time?
Very little.
That's what I thought.
It was interesting. It was another Ripon woman that came into it. And at that point, I mean, parents were filing lawsuits against school
Right.
districts. And I mean, it was In a way, the special needs world is still very much segregated. It's a lot of like, can you keep them out of the classroom? Can you keep them away? But when you have the kids that fall into the middle where they're not quite completely disabled, but they're not completely ready for 100% mainstream, they sit in the middle. And then a lot of times, one, our educators aren't trained to figure that out. And two, there's legal rights for these children and no one really knows how to execute it.
Do you feel as a parent of a special needs child that you were isolated as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I felt like I was on an island most of the time. And that's really what it came from, is just a really lonely isolation. So to connect with moms ahead of me in that really did help. And ironically, the women ahead of me, I mean, like I said, they were having to lawyer up just to get their kids into school.
What year was this? Is 10 years ago
so
or 8 years ago?
We were in the journey probably 2015 is when it started.
So just after SB 277 passed kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Wow. I too have a son who was diagnosed with autism at 18 months old. And it was we'd had an episode and we talked about that. And it was like the most isolating, lonely. You're like screaming from the rooftops, help, or like, look at this. And no one's listening.
Right.
I feel for you on that one. And I think it's so cool that you've actually made like a passion about that.
Right.
Oh, what so cool.
So surprisingly, that's not what we're here to talk about.
Anyway,
so we're talking about
We can talk
grief.
about that.
I know, right?
So I was listening to something on YouTube this morning talking about health and in our children and how our food has a big part of it. But I want to say that they said in 2023, 1 in every 22 births was
It's
a
in the
child
teens now.
that is autistic.
So the interesting thing is diagnosing it is becoming more sophisticated. And we're getting more kids into that category where they're getting the treatment, they're getting an intervention. Now it's a spectrum. So you're grabbing more. So it's really hard to say, is that number accurate, or are we actually identifying kids that were never identified before?
Right.
So
I
that
can see
is
that.
a challenge.
Right.
So even being in the world, I'm hesitant to use the statistics because the category moves constantly.
Not to mention, they're not all being diagnosed at all.
Right.
So
Right.
they're not
Right.
all on there. Yeah.
So there's some parents that are just opting, I don't want to go there,
right.
which just forgoes services or supports for them.
Because they don't want a label on their child.
It happens a lot, actually.
When my brother was young, they didn't consider that autism.
Right.
They considered my brother, and this was their verbiage, not ours, retarded.
Right.
And,
That's the word that they would write on the paper.
Right.
It was literally, And, obviously now that we know what we know, my brother obviously had Asperger's syndrome. And
Right.
it was, he wins in kindergarten against 8th graders, a spelling bee.
Right.
Obviously his disability was autism.
Right.
And it was, he was highly intelligent, but socially inept. And really had a hard time.
Right.
Socially could not make eye contact. Eyes were constantly shaking,
The
stimming all
world
the
is
time.
not kind.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say that up until just a few years ago, nobody was diagnosed for that.
Right.
And so that's kind of the misconception that people say, oh, all these people have autism now.
Right.
I believe that part of it is because they just weren't diagnosed.
Right. And girls were missed the most.
Makes sense.
So because girls have a natural tendency to mirror, to copy people, to just act normal.
They
so you have a
present
girl,
differently,
Yes,
right?
they present differently. So we have girls that just get lost.
Yeah, I can see
They
it.
get lost.
What about your daughter? And by the
Totally.
way, this is kind of like through grief, because it is a kind of grief. When you get that
That's
diagnosis.
exactly where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. It really is a grief thing.
So, my daughter is I think the biggest one that's fallen through the cracks. She does not fit. We've tried homeschool, we've tried private school, we've tried hybrid school, we've tried all different things, and we've just had a struggle. So she's currently in a homeschool environment being privately tutored. We are dealing with a school that's very rare. There's only 20 of these in the nation. It actually comes out of Canada. And it's a neuroplasticity school where they actually use logic exercises and certain patterns and games to teach the brain to learn, and then they add the curriculum after. So this is really rare. It's not really in the United States. It's like 20. I said there's 20 locations in the entire United States that does this right now. So she's currently going through a program like that online while she's being homeschooled.
What a blessing that is.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Very cool.
That is very cool.
I know we totally went different direction.
That's how we do it. This is the idea. Everything is natural and easygoing. So on grief, what made you, we asked Staci what topic she would like to talk about. And this was the topic that she chose. So Miss Staci, what made you pick this topic?
So I think the grief really is coming back to the autism is understanding that we are grieving a expectation. When, it's like, I give the best explanation of how it felt. I remember her being a toddler and just sitting at a cocktail party with a bunch of moms like, hey, we're going to do cocktail night. And there's about 10 moms sitting around and everybody's talking about challenges as motherhood. And I remember saying, yeah, I think there's something not right with my daughter. And like, she does this. And I think I went through 7 or 8 things. And then this happens. And then that happens. And one by one, at least one mom in the room is like, oh no, my kid does that. My kid does that.
Right.
And I think at the end, as I got around the circle, I finally said, but does your kid do everything? Did any of your kids do all 10 of those things? And that's when I realized, yeah, one of these things is probably typical, but all 10, that we're having a problem. Like when the air conditioner comes on, it shouldn't drive a kid crazy. If the bathroom fan's on, it shouldn't make a kid want to run out into the street. So things like that. So that's when I try to explain it to people as my world started realizing that I'm dealing a kid that feels everything times 10. So imagine you get ice cream and it has sugar in it. But suddenly that ice cream has 10 times the sugar. How does it taste?
Right.
So you start
really
thinking,
freaking good.
Really freaking good. In some cases, especially like caramel sauce,
Right?
Let's talk about it. It's my favorite. But I start explaining things to people like even something good, if you feel it 10 times 10, but if you feel pain, feel it times 10, then you're looking at a brain that's rewired that doesn't match this world. So you walk into, even just walking into church, okay, they turn on the music really loud. There's lights flashing. They're crowded in, they're packed in. All these different things are times 10. It's not normal. So they wonder why special needs kids have a hard time just going to church. Like, whoa, this is a welcome. Well, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. So just that whole theory of understanding that your child has a brain that is completely amazing. I mean, the thing this kid can do, she started animating it at age 8 and she teaches other kids and she she can come home from school and in 5 minutes animate a whole scene from the day. Like last year, something happened, like she threw up at school and the teacher came out to the playground and like hosed it down and she came home and animated the whole thing.
Yeah. As in she acted it out for you?
No, she coded it online and created a cartoon for it.
That is the coolest thing ever.
So my brain wasn't letting me go there because I felt like it was
she literally,
insane.
so it started with these comic strips that she would draw in like 5 minutes. She'd have these little like, almost like a Peanuts cartoon and it would turn into a comic strip. And she could draw out anything, and then it turned into coding, and now it's full out animation. It's hilarious.
God,
don't ever argue with her. She will animate the argument.
Oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing ever.
What a great
Hilarious.
talent.
So yeah.
Is there anything that you can send us that we can actually put a link on our
If
website?
she'll let me. If she'll let me.
Ask her to
love
put something up
that.
that she's proud of.
So
That
we'll
is
do
so
it.
cool.
So she, one thing I will say about her, like with autism, you have the high lows. So you have like a social thing. Now she did have quite a bit of intervention at a young age because she was just struggling so much. So these people taught her a lot about safety and cybersecurity. So from day one, she's been taught how to navigate safely in this world. So we actually hired a gaming therapist when she was 8 because I had no clue what she was doing. Right. My brother came over one day and he's a coder and he's like, Staci, he's like, she taught herself to code. She taught herself Java. And I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
He's like, people don't do this. He's
Right.
like, I got a master in this.
Right. And that's what he does for a living. He's like, Staci, I do this for a living. And she just self-taught her off Khan Academy. She self-taught herself. So
Brilliant.
So we, so that's been a life of understanding of just safety. So I had to hire a gaming therapist. So she comes in and she does regular marriage and family therapy. And then she combs through the games that she's all playing as they're online. They go through the games and what she's doing. And like, here's this person, let's dump this person off your friends.
So then she understands.
Yeah.
What a cool way to like engage with her though, and be able to reach her.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun. So I'm not going to lie. It's been isolating. It's been an island, but within that island and just kind of grieving the whole running next door to the neighbor. Hey, my kid has an ear infection. Suddenly I'm like, hey, I have no idea what this is. I mean, one day this was the best. One day I was pregnant and I was homesick and I had bought knives from Costco that were like the fluorescent knives. You guys know what those are? The real pretty ones from Costco. They're adorable. So somehow I walked outside and she locked me out and I'm out with the dogs and I'm in my pajamas and I'm pregnant. And sure enough, she went into the kitchen and got those knives.
Oh my God.
You're like watching through the window.
She's tapping it. And luckily it had those guards.
So like,
Tapping. Look how pretty. And I was just dying. Goodness. But you think to yourself, this isn't, this is the stuff. They're so
laughing.
smart. They're so smart. I was terrified.
You were not laughing.
Next door, and I call my parents across town. I'm like, can you come? And they wouldn't answer because they didn't recognize the phone number. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm about to call the cops. So finally, my daddy answered and came and rescued us in my pajamas in the front yard.
Unbelievable. This is so great.
But they're so smart. She knew how to lock me out.
but there still is grief in it, right?
Yeah. So really what it came down to is, and this is what I'll tell you, is there's this whole mentality, and you'll see it, I think you see it in a small town often. If it didn't happen to me, it didn't happen to you.
Right. Then
so
it's not
anybody who had a perfect first grade experience, there's no way you had a bad first grade experience because it didn't happen to me. Yeah. So if it didn't happen to me, it didn't happen to you.
They're always nice to me.
They're always nice to me.
They're the nicest teachers. They're the nicest principal. I don't know.
And then, that's the nicest neighbor I've ever had. Yeah, I don't know. Well, it didn't go so well for me. So the hard thing was being in a small town and walking through school and going like, hey, so why is my kid missing her hair today? Because she melted down so bad that there's chunks of hair missing, and everybody's like, oh, I don't know what happened. Just a lot of that. And like, hey, and I think it's hard when a lot of the teachers and the educators are your peers from high school. Mm-hmm. So everybody's like, we've got it. And I'm like, but deep down I know, but you're not trained to deal with this. And it's no fault of yours, but I'm in a whole nother, it's just like all the cocktail party moms. Like you go back to say, yes, you can deal with the one area, but you're not understanding the whole thing. So we had issues where she tried to run home from school in first grade. She got locked into the bathroom and we just had so many issues. There was a full-time shadow on her. So it's just like, you feel it. You feel the whole, we don't get invited to birthday parties. We don't get invited you sit behind the people waiting for their kids and you're quiet sitting against a tree and you can hear them talking. You hear them saying,
and the looks.
Those kids shouldn't be allowed. They're distracting my kids. My kid's so talented and this kid's holding my kid back. I mean, you hear it. And you hear it firsthand and you hear it from people, and you have to accept that they just don't understand.
The grief
is absolutely heart-wrenching. So, and luckily I just put myself in therapy, so I went through the whole, just horrible feeling of I'm completely alone, and you go through the depression and then you also feel completely ill-equipped to like raise this child. You're like, I don't understand. I don't know what to do with her.
I mean, God, she's coding. Who the heck can figure that out?
That was really our turn. Our turn really came with when we went into public school and we came back out and it was just like, this is horrible. Like and the whole thing is everybody tells you, oh, you have to socialize them.
Yeah.
With who? To do.
Well, my lab did just fine in the backyard, so we're not going to socialize her. So she came home from first grade and finally said, I don't want to go to school anymore. And the first time in my life, which, okay, let's be honest, I made fun of homeschoolers. I'm like, they don't have social skills. Horrible people.
Little weirdos.
I know. Like, I don't know about those homeschoolers. Like, we were normal. We got picked on. But, you have that whole thing of like, you start all the things you thought you had an opinion on, you're like, well, I no longer have an opinion because I'm in survival mode and my child is not okay. So it was interesting. At that point, we started homeschooling and you're all alone again. Yeah. There's no support. There's no nothing. Mm-hmm. There's no anybody. And one thing is I don't have a clue how to be a mom, let alone a teacher.
And a principal and a counselor.
Yeah. So we did get some support. And luckily at that point, I couldn't find anybody that would take her as a therapist. So I went to a woman that was a life coach. She had a life coach at age 6 because she was having night terrors from the school and just the horrible year she had. And so still to this day, I look back at just her level of survival. And then behind her came up her brother, But I feel like she hit the impact the hardest. Like, people a boy who's different is a little endearing. A girl who's different, it doesn't jive.
I mean, we're held to a different standard on everything.
Right.
If we're not good enough looking, we're judged. If we're not smart enough, we're judged.
Right.
If we're a little bit odd, we're judged. We're boys. I mean, God, they seem to get away with a lot more.
Right.
I was wondering what the differences would have been between having one.
I feel like it's hard on a girl. And I think it took me a long time. Like you say, the whole grief thing, the grief of, okay, I know what it's like to be bullied. I know what it's like to be picked on. Here's me. I moved to a small town in high school, in the middle of high school, and then I was Miss Homo Blossom, So, which was funny, and I can be honest now because it's decades later, but people weren't happy about that. I wasn't from here, and so I know what it's like to be in a small town, and people have an expectation. So, and I heard it, so it was really funny.
They weren't very quiet.
They weren't very quiet. Oh no, people made it known like she's not from here, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But I look at here was me that could blend in. But my kid does not blend in at all. Right. And, so you have this kid that the world is too much. So it's really been.
So what do you do on a daily basis?
So there was a point, and that's where I say I go into the grief. You go into the grief of like denial, like, no, they have to accept her or they have to let her in. And then you get to acceptance of like, this is not happening. Like this whole like, oh, let's socialize the kid to get her better. Then it goes into, okay, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah. And it depends on the kid, certain ones. It's okay to socialize them and it's actually really important to socialize them. And others, that's not what they want. Mm-hmm. They're not happy like that no matter what. So why are we forcing it? And you as a mom of 2 children with special needs gets that more than anybody. Right. So I think it's amazing that you're writing the books that you're doing, that you're out there helping other parents. Right. That's what needs to happen. The ones that they, in the situation that you were, to be able to now give and gift this to other parents is phenomenal.
Right. And I think I totally agree with that because that's exactly what happened is you kind of go through the whole process of like, it really was a grief process. And it wasn't until recently that I realized, man, that was the death of all my expectations. And that was the death of all my hope. And that was the death of like my whole little image of this Mayberry story for my kids.
Right.
Like,
this perfect.
We're going to walk to school. We're going to do all these things.
Well, you're thinking falling in love and like the star of the football team.
Right.
And, I mean, whatever you think about.
Or even any sport. You're looking at everything we tried to join. And you do. Here's the hard thing. You get the people, the heroes, and they're amazing. They're the sweetest people on earth. But they'll be like, hey, come join this. We can have... A week later, they're like, it's not going to work out.
Can you pick them up early?
Can you hire someone to come in?
Texting you? No.
I can't tell you how many things we signed up for, hundreds of dollars, and it was like, we'll just go. Yeah. We'll just go. It's okay. And you have to be quiet because here's the thing, and I've understood with just you go through the acceptance and then you go through that. But then you go into the second part of like, okay, our life's not going to be that way. And that's, I think, when we morphed into the whole, okay, we don't have to fit in.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Embrace it.
I'm like, so we hate combing hair. Let's chop it off.
Yeah, who cares?
And so that's when we really got into the whole, you don't want to wear the same colored shoes. Well, who cares?
Yeah. My brother never learned to tie his shoelaces. So he always wore the Velcro shoes from Walmart.
Yes, yes.
And I was like mortified because, everything at a certain age with my brother mortified me. Right? Because I would see the looks that the other kids gave him. They bullied him.
That's grief.
All of those things. And so I get it. Like
you get it. And it's quiet. It's that quiet loneliness because you can't come out and say people are being mean to me because guess what? No one else is experiencing
And weirdly, while it's so quiet, lonely, your kids are screaming.
Yes.
And so it's the decibel. So my cousin, I had told you mine, but my cousin, I would love to set you guys up. She too has 2. And hers are... I think 9.
People always want to set you up with other special needs.
I do. I feel like I'm sorry. And I love being set up. You can totally set me
up. She's actually 3.
With a 6 foot tall, good looking man. Sure,
she's like, is he good looking? No, I'm just joking. No,
they're all adorable.
No, she has 3. I don't know why I said 2. She actually has 3 twins and then a younger son, all 3 with autism.
Right.
And I would the fact that you're talking about that, the grief that's associated with when it hits you once.
Right.
It's enough. But when it hits you again, and even again, you know what I mean?
And I think people
Profound.
don't understand that there's a level of trauma that comes from raising a special needs kid. And it wasn't, and here's where we can tie in grief. Where it really hit me was last year when I actually did go through a grief through death of a family member, and then went through a divorce. And I think for the first time ever, that's when I realized what the whole special needs life was grief. It was all tied together, because I started realizing, okay, everything I went through those years also tied into grieving a death, and then also grieving a life, the other life, the marriage. And so that's really what I try to explain to people is what you're feeling is real. You are truly grieving. And so I think that's the hard part.
And so many different forms of grief. Like we said, like my eldest daughter just had a baby.
Right.
So when she got married, I was like, yeah, like you're going to have your own life with your husband, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, the reality of that was in the birthing room when I realized it's done. I'm no longer the parent.
Wow.
And so for 3 months, I've been grieving the loss of my daughter.
Right.
And that is as painful in its own right as any other type of grief.
She'll make me cry.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she was going to make me cry right
I
now.
feel like there's
so many forms of grief.
There's so many forms of grief. Like right now, I'm grieving my 50s, like getting older. You know, just the aging and the could bins and time, like grieving time. That it's like you get older and then you realize that it's slipping by. Right. Quick.
I'm grieving my old body I used to.
or the realization that, like for my cousin, lost her mother the year before. She lost her father, and it's like, boop, you're next, right? You're that next generation. You know, it just moves so fast. Well,
now you are the leader too. Now the pressure, you are the matriarch.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or whatever.
No, it's true.
So I think that's where I finally connected back, though, and getting off the island is realizing when I realized what I was in was grief, I stopped trying to explain my story, and I started being like, oh, you're grieving your daughter. Oh, I know what grief is. And that started becoming, it was weird because suddenly I'm like, I can connect back into this world, right? I can relate with you. There's a place for me here. But it was, and that's exactly how I came back. I feel like I came back into the world, because I went from, okay, this is just grief. This is it. This is what I'm dealing with. And so like someone like you, we can talk about grief, about your daughter and my daughter, and we're talking about the same thing.
Exactly.
But now we're not in two different worlds, and we're not in that world where it's like, hey, if it didn't happen to me, I don't get it. You know? So.
No.
And I think that's part of maturity too, and having empathy.
Right.
And looking back, the looks that you're given sometimes is not people being like, oh, they're having empathy. Because they're like, oh man, like I feel for that. And it's not like I feel sorry for you, you're sad, it's not that. They have empathy. Right. And as adults and grown women with their own children, it's empathy.
Right.
And sometimes they just haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah,
so they
or
just
lack of knowledge.
Some just don't know.
Yeah.
They just don't know to feel that because they've never been exposed to that.
Right.
And when it does happen, God help them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like seriously, they will know then and they will remember, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So I feel like, I don't know. I love that you're looking through the grief and always trying to find the silver lining or what to find joy about, you know what I mean? Instead of just kind of, like you said, you don't belong staying on that island.
No, I didn't. And I did not think that grief was what would bring me back. Right. I did not think
that brought you back.
I didn't think
like
the grief
that.
would be what revived me as a person and like gave me like got rid of the numbness and the isolation and everything like that. And I didn't think, it was a death, a divorce, and a realization all at one point, So it's
that
just
sounds like a book right there.
I know.
You just got your next book title. What's the name of the book that you're getting ready
I was
to?
going to ask you
currently,
about
it's not officially published. We'll probably be out in the end of the month, but it'll be under Staci Wynn, but it'll be the IEP journey, which is just a walkthrough, step-by-step prep guide for parents walking into an IEP meeting of here's your strongest places in the meeting. So it teaches them why to know certain things walking into the meeting, keeping it concise. So it walks them through how to bullet point, how to do this, but how to get the information into that meeting to to advocate for their children. So it's really a 101 basic version of just getting a first-time parent going in. And then eventually it'll build into like, okay, now you need to advocate, or now you're going next level, and it'll build and it will continue. And
I
then
think that's great.
there'll be other books built into it, which is just like, well, and so the proper term now for kids with autism is we're referring to them as neurodivergent. So that's really what we go into is just, you have the kids that you have an autism or ADHD or dyslexia, so it's just their brain's different. So now that they're
So do I have autism?
Yeah, well, honey,
Because I am ADHD and I'm severely
they
dyslexic.
very much can kind
well,
of
no,
hand in
that
hand.
goes under the neurodivergent umbrella.
Okay,
so that
gotcha.
just means it's like a family. So they're understanding that they have some commonalities where you can, so you don't isolate the autism community. You're not isolating dyslexia. You're not
everybody's
So
together.
they're all kind of fighting together for the same type of
makes sense. It
services
makes
and
them stronger.
supports.
Makes them
And they
stronger.
all have
Right.
similar support. So to go in and actually do that. So it really is. So my wheelhouse really is that neurodivergent umbrella, because I've dealt with it as a teacher. I've dealt with it everything. So you really just see the breakdown, but just understanding the whole understanding of the brain and how it goes a different way. But just, I think this is my way. Finally, I think it's just a full circle of going through the whole process and understanding it. But I think it took the two final tragedies for me to connect it all together. And then I think it took the final thing to come out and finally say, yeah, I haven't been okay. I haven't been okay for a long
And you
time.
should, and the other people shouldn't pretend like they're okay too.
And
right?
I think, it's like even just my Facebook. I look back and I look at all these pictures of this beautiful family and smiling, and I give a crazy explanation one time where I said, go down my Facebook profile pictures and tell me which one's your favorite. And I remember telling people this one time, and every single person's like, oh, this is my favorite family picture. And so there was a point where I had this two stepchildren, and then I had just Bella. And at that point, I was pregnant. I had lost a baby. I was in the middle of a miscarriage. I still showed up for family portraits.
Oh my gosh.
And I was dying. But I think about what I did to just hide the pain and hide that feeling, to mask it. And to this day, still people will be like, oh, I love that family picture. If you only knew, like, I had to take pain medication to show up to that. I was a mess that day. But man, I put a smile on my face, and I had cute little makeup and hair, and the kids looked perfect, and we looked perfect. But I was dying. And so I think that's where the last 2 years, I finally got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm dying, and I'm going to tell people I am. I'm not okay. And I just started telling people I'm not okay. And what I didn't understand is the minute I came out and started saying, yeah, this special needs journey, it's been crap, and this has been crap, but I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to have hope, and I'm going to believe. I could not believe how fast my direct messages filled up.
It's way better.
Right.
Like one of the things that we've talked about before is I hate it when people are fake. And it happens a lot of us get trapped in that.
Right.
Where we're only, posting the great pictures and we're pretending everything's great. One of the girls that used to work for me just recently had a baby.
Yeah.
And she was trying to do a photo shoot with her husband and the new baby. And she ended up doing all these pictures that were all like the baby's crying, everything's like a mess.
That's
And she
hilarious.
posted it.
I
And I
love
was
that.
like, oh my God.
So
I
perfect.
love this. And she's
Yes.
like, what? I'm like, it's so amazing, Jessica, that
Yes.
you posted
Yes.
can you tell my daughter to do that? That is so great.
Yes,
I love it.
yes.
Because that's how it really is.
Right.
And I remember taking all three of my kids to Sunday school. And that morning, getting all their stuff laid out, screaming at everybody, trying to get everybody clean, changing diapers, yelling, screaming, getting your hair done, Get them in the car. They're screaming, they're crying. We pull them all out for Sunday school. I said, you're going to go in there and you guys are going to act like normal kids. And you're going to be good or you're going to get spanked.
Right.
And then they all go in and I'm thinking, I am a horrible person.
Right.
I'm telling my children to go in there
And suck it up.
and suck it up.
Yep.
And I just felt like a piece of crap.
So you can look good.
Yeah.
That's-
So we can look
So
good.
I could look good.
Right.
So we
it's
can
like
look
a
good.
perfect family.
Yeah.
But
Right.
how else
But
do
there's
you
no
get,
such
right,
thing.
how else do you get rid of the loneliness except for to go,
Connection.
I'm lonely.
I'm
and
lonely.
And really
and
say,
I think that's what and I didn't come out and say like I'm just horrible. I really came out from an approach of like, I'm not okay, but I do believe it can get better. And I had that tone. I really had that tone because that's the only way I could survive is to still say, I do believe this can get better. And the minute I put that tone out into the world was, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. Hey guys, I'm not okay. And I'm, like I said, I cannot believe just the level of people, like how many dinners I've gone to, how many different things. And it's been great. So in closing, I think we just really need to pull away from this. And my story especially is just grief has a purpose and it does have hope.
Yeah.
And we can live through it. And I think grief is really just a turn in our lives and not so much the end. And it can feel like the end. But
It does feel like the end very often. But you got to ride those waters.
We do.
You know?
We do. So I think in essence, grief saved me in the end. And I think it was having
Great way
three,
to put it.
and I think it was having the crippling grief of 3 areas of my life compounding on me that I realized I'm either going to fall to the bottom or I'm going to come out. And it was just all those connections that brought me out.
Grief
So
Well,
yeah.
I believe not only
So-
are you going to come out, you're going to come out on top.
Right.
You already are, girl.
Yeah, I am quite happy. So, all right.
This is Mighty Mo reminding you that even in the depths of your grief, there is a purpose waiting to be uncovered. Healing doesn't follow a straight path, but along the way, we often find our deepest strengths. Trust in the journey, stay rooted in who you are, and let the purpose guide you towards the light. Feel blessed, be blessed.